While they were on their quest, strange noises came from beneath their feet, prompting everyone to look down, only for the next second to kick off a horror show. What the heck? This mysterious and terrifying sound keeps coming, giving us a serious fright. The voice turned out to belong to Dracula, the original vampire. In a flash, the leader Danny summoned him back home. To impress him, she rounded up a bunch of young women for a dinner party. Danny was a bit scared, but Dracula morphed into a dashing gentleman and started blaming her for ruining the vampire image. "You're nothing but shadowy versions of your former selves. Look how low you've sunk. The world has changed since your time. There's a new hunter in town, Blade, and I suppose you'd like me to take care of him, right?" Turns out Danny wasn't even a match for Blade and needed to call Dracula for backup. Meanwhile, Blade was busy taking out another vampire spot. Dracula, upon hearing this, remained calm and communicated a cunning plan to his minions, promising that they could easily deal with Blade. They decided to challenge Blade under the cover of night, but Blade wasn't about to let this free buffet escape. One vampire tried to sneak up on Blade, but just as he made his move, Blade slammed the brakes and sent him flying into the car like a UFO. What awaited him was a warm welcome from silver bullets. He thought the fight was over, but surprise. Two more vampires showed up with guns blazing. Blade quickly activated the UV lights in his car, making one vampire disintegrate. Then he used his car's power to send another. The last vampire crawled out of the car, but didn't get far before a silver bullet gave him a loving kiss. But strangely, a silver bullet should turn a vampire to dust, yet this one just stood there unreacted. Curious, Blade found it was a living human, not a vampire. Blade was utterly bewildered. Just then, someone in the distance caught it all on camera, none other than Danny, the vampire, who reported Blade's daytime antics to the cops. This turned Blade into a notorious criminal overnight. Now he was hated on both sides. Dracula's little gift caused quite the stir. When the police stormed Blade's base, he was blissfully unaware. Alas, his partner was so got shot and met his fate right then and there. Upon hearing the news, Blade was filled with regret and lost all will to fight back, resulting in him being captured by FLA. During the interrogation, Blade appeared dazed and lost without Whistler. The chief had to call in a psychologist to help him out. After dialogue, the doctor diagnosed Blade with mental illness, needing hospitalization, then pulled out sedatives. To prevent Blade's escape, the last thing they expected was the doctor picking him up, turning out to be Danny the vampire. Turns out this shrink was a puppet of the vampires, making up mental health claims to let Danny smoothly take Blade away. It was all part of Dracula's cunning scheme. At that moment, Danny was quite pleased, unaware that her smugness was about to backfire. Gloating that Blade was truly doomed this time. Just as Danny finished her gloat, one of her vampire lackeys exploded. Enter the rebellious bloodsucker Sister Sassy. She dispatched another vampire, gave Blade an accelerator serum, reviving him instantly as his robust vampire nature nullified the sedatives. As Blade gradually regained his strength, he kicked the vampire out of the way, suited up, and stepped out of the interrogation room like a rock star. Surprisingly, police stopped him on the way out. Blade is merciful to humans but ruthless to vampires. Unexpectedly, he had extra help. The extra help came in the form of a sword-wielding heroine, pulling out a collapsible composite bow and ready to slice through the action. Her weapon hits, taking down nearby vampires. Her minions scrambled to escape, but doors once saved them from her kindness. With these two hunters' help, Blade escaped the police station and soon arrived at Mini Blade's base. Surprisingly, the Swordmaster turned out to be Whistler's daughter, who had previously trusted to step in for Blade during times of trouble. Remembering Whistler's last words, Blade knew the fight against monsters must go on. Even though Whistler had passed, he was determined to rally the troops for the next mission. At the base, Blade met members who called themselves Night Raiders and knew much about vampire operations. They even developed all sorts of special weapons to deal with vampires, including powerful UV bullets. They had high-tech UV sprayers that could turn vampires into smoke in an instant. It was truly the best buddy for close combat. Among them was a blonde biologist who, despite being blind, was working on a specialized virus aimed at taking out vampires. Crafted with vampire DNA, this virus hurts all nearby vampires upon infection. Cell in testing. If they could acquire Dracula's DNA, it would amplify the virus effect significantly. As for Dracula, Blade was still puzzled. Just then, while they were conversing, the blonde researcher discovered a biotech company making massive purchases of blood supply, human resources, and astonishing. Blade rushed over to investigate, only to find Sheriff Black and a female vampire there and promptly captured both of them. One defiant female vampire received a slap from Blade. Just as she planned retaliation, Mini Blade shot her arrow. The female vampire immediately turned to a pile of bones. Afterwards, Blade took Sheriff Black to the factory to check out what they were producing. To their horror, inside was a living person sealed in plastic, a veritable zombie factory where they were being drained by bees. Although in a brain-dead state, they remained alive on nutrient solutions, providing fresh blood for vampires daily. Seeing hundreds of living dead, Blade questioned why their families didn't alert authorities. Sheriff Black, being well versed in the matter, explained that these were just homeless folks. No one would even notice Blade was missing. In fact, it even solved a social problem, which infuriated Blade. He then gave Sheriff Black 20 seconds to run for his life. However, Blade's 20 seconds flew by in a blink, after which he ordered the staff to shut down the maintenance program. This allowed these poor living dead to pass on with dignity. Blade destroyed the vampire's blood farm, which understandably left Dracula fuming. If you enjoy our story, don't forget to subscribe for more epic adventures.